Hello, coaches, and welcome to this edition of Give and Go Live. My name's David Newberry. I'm the e-learning coordinator for United Soccer Coaches, and I'm joined, as always, by my colleague Ian Barker. Hello, Ian.
Hi, David. Pleasure to be here.
Ian, we have a special guest today, Samantha Snow, who is the Georgia Soccer Partners and Liberty Soccer Club director and a former college coach. So welcome, Sam.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be joining you guys.
Okay, Sam, so today's session is focused on defending, and it's called Numbers Down Defending. And we're going to go through three sequences with looking at the setup and also the methodology. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the setup we have on the screen. We have a 7 versus 7 situation with two goalkeepers. The focus of this session is on the red players who are defending and the white players who are attacking and in possession of the ball. So the white team are shooting in this direction, and the red team, of course, are defending. And as you can see, there are three zones to the field. We have an attacking zone for the white team, where we have a 1 versus 2 disadvantage for the whites, a 2 versus 1 advantage for the reds. And of course, we have a goalkeeper. In the middle zone, we have equal numbers, 4 versus 4. And then at the defending zone, we also have a 2 versus 1 in favor of the white team in possession. And the reason we have that, of course, is to give the white team an opportunity to progress outside of their defending zone. And the rule is, because we're focusing on defending, the white team in possession, the attacking team, can progress in and between zones by moving forward, but the red team, once the ball has left their zone, cannot recover into a deeper zone. So, Sam, let's talk about some of the methods we see on this activity.
Yeah, so the first one is our red number 9. We want to make sure that when the ball is played out from the white goalkeeper, that the red number 9 is stepping to the defender to make it predictable. So his midfielders behind him, the 7, the 11, the 8, and the 10, they can adjust and organize accordingly. And then if the ball does get played through and progressed up to the white midfielders, then we need to make sure that our red midfielders, when they're stepping to the ball, again, same thing, that they're staying connected and they're communicating who's stepping to and where they're going to force at. So then our 4 and 5 reds in the back can also adjust accordingly and stay organized. So Ian, do you have anything to add as well?
Yeah, so I think David's done a great job of capturing this image. It's really important that out of possession, all of our team are defenders. So even though the red number 9 can't legitimately win the ball in this 2v1 and including the goalkeeper 3v1 situation, what we're suggesting to that player is maybe you can cut the field in half and make play predictable for your midfielders behind. I think it's pretty clear that if the ball does get played here at the grassroots level, this player knows to come and maybe this player knows to come. But on the weak side, this player here, the left midfielder, very often youth players, they won't come across because they believe they have to continue to mark their opponent. And what we as coaches have to do is really stress to these players that you need to stay connected and shift as a unit and get across and defend where the situation is more dangerous and imminent in here. And don't worry about the players on the weak side because you'll make up the ground as the ball is traveling. So there's a lot to teach in here around the ball, but also on the far side, on what we might call the weak side.
Thanks, Ian. Thanks, Sam. So now we're going into sequence number 2. And as we can see, the goalkeeper having passed the ball to the left-sided fullback, now the fullback decides to penetrate. So the defensive pressure wasn't particularly good by the lone striker, and the white team is now able to progress. And this player on the ball is now progressed into the zone in the center to create now this 5 versus 4 situation in favor of the whites. So, Sam, let's talk about what we might look at from a coaching methodology perspective in sequence 2.
Yeah, so a red player that shows he's going to step to the ball, That's correct. We need that immediate pressure on the ball right away from our red midfielder. And then also it's showing, you've done a good job showing it with these midfielders, that they are sliding over. So the biggest thing is for the player who is stepping to the ball, that he is shaping it into his other red midfielder that's right here, this wide one. These other ones are stepping and shifting over. So it doesn't allow that player to play it out wide, since white team has the numbers advantage on that far side, on their right-hand side. We need to make sure that this front player who's stepping takes that option away. And then we've got the first pressure, the cover from this player out wide, then the cover from the other central player, and this red one who's sliding over to create that balance in the shape.
Ian, anything you would like to add on this one?
Yeah, I think Sam captured it perfectly, because Sam immediately addressed the need for this player to put pressure as the player dribbles forward, which is absolutely critical, because the image shows great compactness. It shows all the reds making things nice and compact, which is absolutely what we want. But there's no point in being compact if we don't get pressure at the ball. So I think Sam caught it perfectly. Get the pressure on the ball, and then the rest of the team can respond.
Ian, interesting here, we have this red player that almost looks like they've given up. What would you suggest we would do to coach this player so that they're still involved in the activity?
Yes, great question. So I think it's a little bit about your mentality, about what type of work rate you want out of this player and how much you want to run them into the ground defending, and also what their mentality is. But a couple of things we could think about is we could say, you know what, just stay there and deny the pass back to the goalkeeper or the pass across. So you may let that player stay there. Or we might say, let's put pressure on the ball from the other side. So now the person dribbling forward has pressure from behind. And so we can maybe force the turnover high up the field. And then, of course, we've got a shorter distance to go.
Excellent. So let's go to sequence 3, the final sequence, and the ball now has progressed successfully from a white perspective from zone 2 into zone 3. So now we have, as we can see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 reds that are out of the game from the ability to put pressure on the ball because they cannot retreat into the final zone. And it leaves us with a 1, 2, and the goalkeeper 3 against 3 whites that are entering into the final zone. So Sam, what do we have to share here for our coaches in the final sequence?
So now that the white team is within shooting range, we've got to make sure that whichever defender is closest to the ball, that they are stepping to it right away and don't allow them to shoot. And as soon as we've got that pressure on the ball, then the second defender who's coming to support, again, his first focus has got to be on the ball. So making sure if the defender in front of him does get beat, that he's right there again to deny that shot on goal. So they want to try and force the ball out wide, make the white team play it out wide to one of their flank players, and then they can adjust accordingly, and the goalkeeper can get a little bit more organized as well, and maybe see if they can defend off a cross from the flanks.
Ian, can you talk a little bit about what you want this player to do, the player closest to the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. So the challenge now is, because of our game condition and because the whites have taken advantage of that game condition, there is this numerical disadvantage because you've got all these whites flooding forward and the reds at this point in the activity cannot recover. So inevitably, the reds, the goalkeeper may give up a shot. I think it's critical now that the coaches start to talk to the goalkeeper about organizing, because what the goalkeeper wants to do is try to make this white player's decision with the ball predictable, or this player's predictable. So do we send the defender out and maybe keep them forcing the play away, or do we bring the attacker in on his strong foot, onto his weaker foot possibly, and that makes the shot more predictable? So really what I'm looking for out of this player is tandem with the information received from the goalkeeper to try to make players predictable as possible in this phase. And then, of course, ultimately will allow the Reds to recover.
Just a couple of methodological things to mention here. You can see them in the text. Because this is a defensive focus activity, we can make it more difficult or less difficult based on a few manipulations. One way to make this activity more difficult for the attacking team is to allow the goalkeeper to distribute into the middle and end zones directly. That's one way. To decrease the challenge on the defenders, we could introduce an offside rule and have a line that becomes the offside line, or even better, have an assistant run the offside. So it means that the defenders don't have to drop too deep and can play a little higher line in order to get a little bit more compact. The other thing we need to consider here is that we might want to allow the defenders to recover one or all of them. So in this situation, if we allowed that, maybe this defender can get back and support the two defenders now to make that a little bit easier from a defensive perspective. So Sam, thank you so much for your time and your guest presentation. We certainly would love to have you come back. Ian, thank you for your time as well.
Always a pleasure, David.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, coaches, for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on the next Give and Go Live.